Many greetings all, and welcome to the very first presentation of the Draconic Summit Winter Solstice 2024. It is truly a pleasure to see you all here listening in. The purpose of this panel is to showcase how vastly unique the Draconic experience truly is, by encouraging individuals listening in to share their own experiences with Draconity. Draconity is a word that encompasses so many unique and interesting experiences, and this weekend is all about expressing all manner of Draconic experiences, no matter how different they are from more common experiences. It's essentially a tradition with the Draconic Summit to start off our weekend by allowing our members to share their experiences with Draconity on stage or in chat in a non-judgmental environment. This is, again, a weekend to celebrate Draconity, and we want to start off our weekend right by encouraging discussion of the unique Draconic experiences of others. Like always, I will be starting this presentation off by talking about my own unique experiences with Draconity and Lyco-Draconity. A lot of these experiences I will be sharing will just be basic facts about my non-humanity and some occasional, wow, I did not say that right, some occasional funny bits of my non-humanity. Even though they're just basic facts, many tell my being that they're interesting to hear about nonetheless, so I don't mind sharing them over again. This section of the panel will be short to allow for others to share their experiences with Draconity. If you want to speak on stage when I'm done speaking everything from my script, it is recommended that you write down bullet points of experiences or topics you want to speak about during the presentation. Without further introduction, though, let this first panel of the Winter Summit begin. Winter is here. So, many who know my being well already know most of the interesting and unique details surrounding my Draconity, though for those who don't, to keep it simple for the beginning of the panel, I am a Lyco-Draconic werewolf who has a deep spiritual connection with a divine, non-perceivable, celestial draconian being whom I call Lunat. In this human life, I describe myself as the wolf who lives and experiences of humanity at the behest of said celestial being that I call Lunat, since said celestial being is incredibly interested in human knowledge and the human experience as a whole. Lunat herself cannot die or fade away. She also has no way to put herself to sleep or incarnate her full consciousness into any body. I lost my script. Place in the script, hold on. So because of the aforementioned factors, she has no way to live a human life. And that's where I, her little fragment, come in essentially. I do not know Lunat's actual name, though even if I did, I cannot even begin to pronounce or spell her complicated draconian name correctly with any human language. So I just call her Lunat. It's a nice name though, and that's why I adopted it for myself. Anyways, I do not believe myself to actually be Lunat, even though I sometimes refer to myself as her, and even though I take her placeholder name. I am merely a fragment of her that exists upon this earth, gathering knowledge and living this human life in her interest. Basically, her little servant walking around the earth, doing whatever. Lost my place again, wah. Technically, it is only my non-human consciousness that is a fragment of Lunat, though honestly, it's just much easier to say that I am Lunat instead of the fragment. Less questions that way, regardless. My Lyco-Draconic wolf soul is named Norak, and that's her actual name. She has lived multiple physical lives upon other worlds that are sadly no longer in existence, as a feral wolf with some semblance of intelligence and self-awareness. Norak is a very interesting being. She has a long snoot, long body. I don't know why she is so long, though she is the borzoi of werewolves, as I say. Though the experiences I mentioned sound incredibly strange and downright insane to some listening in, even in the context of other Kennedy, this is what I have accepted to be my experience and my purpose upon this earth. I've tried to deny my non-humanity. I've tried to deny these aspects of my non-humanity, push them away and ignore them, though they've always come back to my being, and they've defined who I am as an individual. So whether or not I stopped believing in my non-humanity at one point, non-humanity and my Draconity has made up my entire personality, and I don't ever plan to change who my entire identity at any point in my life. Whether anyone believes my experiences with non-humanity or not, whether they believe they have any truth to them or not, again, my non-humanity makes up everything that I am, including my beliefs, my worldview, and my purpose in this world. It's always been incredibly important to who I am, and it even blends in with my indigenous human beliefs and traditional practices. But that's a conversation for another day. And those are the main aspects of my non-humanity. Feel free to ask my being questions about my non-humanity in the chat or in DMs, and I'm happy to answer whatever questions you may have, as long as they're in good faith. To talk about a different aspect of my non-humanity, though, or more specifically, the being I am connected to named Lunath. She speaks an ancient Draconian language that I have done my best to learn and translate into the Latin alphabet, though it has unfortunately proven difficult due to my poor reading comprehension, and due to the fact that the language is naturally incredibly complex. I do not know the actual word for the language, so I use a placeholder name currently, Draconic. The language is impossible to speak properly with a human voice, and impossible to correctly and fully translate in the human language, though I do my best despite those limitations. As many have noticed, the language features many repeating letters, specifically many repeating vowels. And the more important a word is in the language, the longer the word is, which it can be difficult when you are fluent in language. Draconic words that I do know for sure are Volenmus, which means storm, I did not say that right, Optanal, which means void, and Belestath, which means stardust. There are many more Draconic words that I remembered and attempted to translate over time, though it would take forever to list them all in this panel, so I'm just... no. Oh, and for those who are wondering why I say my being instead of me, it's entirely due to Draconic language reasons. In Draconic, there is no word that comes close to the words me or you. The closest translations for those descriptors would be my being and your being, though I never use the latter in conversations upon this earth, since I don't want to make conversations too complicated. I just choose to use my being to describe myself instead of me, since it feels right, and I want to conform to the rules of my Draconic language as much as possible. Though I never use the my being descriptor outside of the other king community for obvious reasons. I can't imagine showing up to an indigenous ceremony and being like, "Hi, I'm Luna, my be," or whatever. The elders of my community would be so freaked out. Though regarding my Draconic experiences again, my Lyco-Draconic wolf soul, who is again named Narok, fits the definition of being Draconic, not because she is a dragon herself, though because she identifies more with the Draconic experience and her Draconic energy rather than the Lycan experience. Even though she does embrace both sides of herself, Narok adopts a lot of Draconic traits and expresses them a lot alongside her Lycan traits, kind of like I do upon this earth, since I adopt a lot of Lunath's traits rather than Narok's traits, though I still do express Lycan traits. And the Lycan traits I express, they're not always healthy, I suppose, since I do suffer from clinical lycanthropy, though that's a conversation for another day. Though, more about my wolf soul. Narok lives an immortal existence alongside Lunath in the celestial realms way beyond this universe. Or her celestial realms way beyond this universe. Narok, in this life, essentially just wanders around in mountain forests, thinking about life, thinking about nature, thinking all the time, and she holds incredible intelligence in this life, in spite of her limited intelligence in her physical lives. In the rest of Narok's mortal lives that have long since passed, she was a feral Lycan with very limited self-awareness of herself and others. Narok has lived these multiple physical lives upon other worlds that are, again, no longer existence, with not many interesting things happening, admittedly. She mainly lived a simple feral life in the mountain forest, watching storms, climbing mountains, hopping in snow, and watching the eagles that often followed her on her hunts and scavenged from her kills. My deep connection with eagles as an indigenous person upon this earth actually heavily stems from Narok's past experience with eagles, though that's a conversation for another day, and maybe for later in this panel if I run out of things to talk about. In these physical lives, Narok has some semblance of emotion and empathy, though it is incredibly limited since she is a feral being that is mainly driven by instinct. She can hold a semblance of grudges, she can sometimes feel sympathy for someone, she can make the choice to spare or kill someone, and she can sense whether someone has good intentions or not. Though in these lives, Narok is not aware that she is a fragment of the celestial being I call Lunat. She only has awareness of herself as a lyco-draconic being with draconic energies, though it doesn't extend much farther than that. My soulmate, Altanok, who you all know as Great Lord of the Holy Nest Coil, incarnated a fragment of himself as a wolf to live alongside Narok in all of these lives as well. And I appreciate that. His wolf self had the same level of intelligence Narok had, and they both had awareness of love as a feeling and a concept, though again, very limited understanding, very limited feeling. Like I said earlier, Narok often unconsciously adopts draconic traits in the place of lichen traits. Though this knowledge of mine is purely intrinsic knowledge, I don't exactly know what traits specifically Narok adopted. I just know that she did. What was I going to say? I only have a few visual memories of Narok. Probably about 6. And since Lunat is a non-perceivable being, I have absolutely no memories of her. I mean, you can't visualize what you cannot perceive, so anything I know about Lunat, anything I know about my guardians really, is based on what they tell my being, or what I intrinsically know. Just the knowledge that was placed in my non-human consciousness for some reason. Though, actually I'll describe one of the memories of Narok. I think it was the first memory I had. Narok sat upon a mountaintop, a summer mountaintop with lingering snow, and she watched a distant storm as it slowly got closer to the mountain range. Eventually the storm enveloped the mountain peak, and Narok just sat in the storm and the pelting rain and the lightning crashing right above her. It was actually a very beautiful memory, and I actually recovered it during a storm. One of these days I really need to go to a mountaintop covered in snow to watch a storm. Then I will be truly complete. I'll probably recover more memories of Narok in the future, though again, the memories are few and far between. I've always had difficulty recovering visual memories, for whatever reason. Though to talk about something else, a little more solemn, I have reflected on my experiences with Draconity and my lyco-Draconity in the context of my schizoaffective disorder. And there have been periods of my life where I deny my non-humanity entirely out of fear of living a life of delusion and falsehoods. Though I have come to accept that whether my non-humanity has any truth to it or not, it has made up everything I am. My beliefs, my worldview, my purpose in this life. Every action I take as a human is influenced by my Draconity or my non-humanity in some way or another. And in the end, it makes my being happy. It makes my being happy to know that I'm non-human, to know that I'm draconic. And whether or not my beliefs are true or not, it makes my being happy. And I'm not about to let anyone judge my being for that. I don't ever plan to stop identifying as non-human, even if I somehow end up stop believing in my non-human experiences entirely. It's just who I am, and I don't ever plan to change. I'm a being stuck in her ways. And that seems to be all for everything I have on my script currently. Anyways, feel free to ask my being about my non-humanity, my Draconity in the panel chat room or whatever, or wherever. With that, I will officially be opening the stage up to individuals wanting to speak about their experiences with Draconity. Feel free to speak about anything you desire as long as they're age appropriate. When you come up on the stage, and if there are others waiting to speak after you, please be mindful of that, and please don't interrupt others when they speak. I'll go ahead and look at the chat intermittently, and talk about some other aspects of my non-humanity if there's any silence in the panel. And with that, others are welcome to come up on stage, and I will approve stage requests. Look at that chat. Lunath is the humanoid being in my profile picture, yes. Since there's some silence in the panel, I'll go ahead and talk about some other experiences of my Draconity. Well, I got a notification. So, Lunath and Narok are both interested in a large variety of objects like gemstones, crystals, gold, artwork, pottery, artifacts, animal bones, feathers, rocks, a ton of other things that I'm probably not thinking of currently. A lot of items that fit this description are currently in my collection, and some of these items I use in both Draconian rituals and indigenous ceremonies. For example, I often use feathers in both Draconian ceremonies and indigenous ceremonies, including legally owned eagle feathers. To give a little rundown on indigenous eagle beliefs in North America and Mesoamerica, and South America, only in some cases, though, I think. The eagle is, in indigenous beliefs, the eagle is seen as the most powerful and holy of birds in many indigenous cultures, and the feathers of the eagle are incredibly sacred. I use one eagle feather, a black eagle feather, that I obtained from a sanctuary to honor the great Draconic creator that I call the Almighty Infinite One. The Almighty Infinite One is Lunath's father and the creator of her multiverse. I also honor the Almighty Infinite One as the creator in indigenous ceremonies. So even that aspect of my Draconity influences my beliefs as an indigenous person upon this earth. Mean beat supreme. An understandable song step. It's whatever you feel comfortable doing. I guess I will go ahead and share the little story about Narok and the Eagles. Oh, never mind. I'll wait. I'll wait. Hello.
Hi, I'm Song. Um, and I am a wyvern of. It's funny because, like, there's my draconic self is very much a less of a spiritual thing for me, and more of like I get phantom shifts, very strong wing shifts. Sorry, I'm not good at talking about a lot of this stuff,
No worries.
uh,
It's all good.
but um I guess some of the things, um, it's very much a thing that I am in the ways that I act, in the ways that I move, and it's almost like my body is a dragon, except it's not. Um, but it's still very much a part of who I am, and I'm actually also Bobcatkin in a very similar way because I'm Polytherian, and um that and sometimes it's like I almost kind of switch between the different forms and even have ways that like the forms blend together, but it's all still part of me. um One of the really interesting things about my Draconity is that I haven't seen it in a lot of other places is that I am like at this point I'm like 90% sure that whatever species of wyvern I am was domesticated, which is kind of interesting, or at least had a close relationship with humans. Um, and honestly, it's really interesting because it really impacts the way that I interact with humanity in general. Because a lot of times, like it feels like humans, especially ones who come across as more human, like I feel like they have a higher status than I do in some ways, and I kind of act accordingly. It's it's a bit weird. And the other thing that is unique about me is that I have a draconic name, that cannot be typed because it is musical. And if you guys want to hear it, I don't know, you might remember it from last summit, but it's hang on. But yeah, that's my draconic experience, and that's what my draconity looks like. It's a little bit weird, but I don't know. That's me.
No, not weird at all. It's just unique. And thank you for sharing your experiences. I appreciate it. Wow. Okay, while I'm waiting for someone else to speak, I'll go ahead and share the little story about Narok and the Eagles. So, a little background. Even though I started connecting with indigenous culture in around 2020, I didn't really feel anything towards eagles. I didn't really care about eagles, as sad as that is for my being to say currently with everything I believe now. Though I started dancing in ceremony mid 2023. I've gained a lot of knowledge since then. Though even when I started dancing, or when I started doing danza ceremony in 2023, I still didn't really feel connected to the eagles. I was more of just learning the knowledge, finding my place, figuring out how my non-humanity could, fit in with this new, or this culture that I was engaging with. I got distracted by the chat. One sec. I am distracted today. Though yeah, it's been a journey navigating through ceremony. Yes, I'm a distracted being right now. It's been an interesting experience navigating and learning to embrace my indigenous culture while also honoring my Draconity, honoring my Draconic pagan beliefs. However, about the Eagles followed Narok around a lot in all of her physical lives, really. I think in her immortal existence as well. Probably now that I think about it, I'd be surprised if they didn't. Though, kind of like my being upon this earth, Narok didn't originally care for the Eagles. In fact, Narok used to be annoyed as hell by the Eagles. She would snap at them, she would roar at them. She never hurt the Eagles, though. She would just snap at them anytime they circled her kills, anytime they scavenged from her kills. Sometimes she hit them sadly. And I'd say to Narok, bad doingus boingus, how dare you. Though eventually, as time went on, Narok began to accept the presence of the Eagles. She, I wouldn't say had empathy for them, though as she looked upon the Eagles more and as she interacted with them more, a spark of interest emerged. And eventually Narok had a very mutual relationship with the Eagles. I wouldn't, maybe it was some semblance of love with what, or love, appreciation, not reverence, obviously, though. Love with what little self-awareness and intelligence she had. Though yeah, she eventually came to appreciate the Eagles, tolerate their presence. She even willingly let them scavenge from her kills. And I believe there were instances where Narok hunted specifically so the Eagles could eat and feed their offspring. I'm pretty sure Narok is the surrogate mother of many Eagles, though I have yet to have memories of that, visual memories of that. I also like ravens. Ravens also followed Narok around, though as an indigenous person, the eagle is very important to my indigenous culture, and honoring the eagle more than the raven is more traditional for my indigenous beliefs. And mainly because I remember my interactions with the eagles as Narok more than the ravens. Although Lunath viewed the ravens the same, she was originally irritated by them, though she eventually became to tolerate their presence and eventually appreciate them. Narok was probably also the surrogate mother of some ravens as well. Probably a lot of ravens, honestly. I'm not sure about her relationship with vultures, though. The ravens of Narok's world, or multiple worlds, they look pretty similar to the common raven, though the eagles of Narok's world, at least the ones that I remember, they were black spotted eagles. And I actually have a black eagle feather that I connect with greatly. I use the black eagle feather to honor not only the Almighty Infinite One, the Draconic creator divinity that I worship, though also to dance in indigenous ceremonies to invoke my non-humanity. So essentially my connection with eagles in indigenous ceremonies is directly related to my non-humanity. And I'm not sure I would have connected with eagles in such a significant way if not for my non-humanity and if not for Narok's interaction with the eagles. The stage is still open for anyone who wants to speak about their draconic experiences. But while I'm waiting, I'm going to try and figure out a way to articulate my draconic experiences. Hello.
Hello.
Hopefully your voice is recorded this time.
Shush. Yes, it is. I made sure.
Okay.
I'm gonna redeem myself. Hello, everybody.
Wee.
Hello, Summit. I love you all. All right.
Wow.
Well, this is more on how I became my Draconity, and then maybe turns into why my Draconity? Not sure. I wrote down a few things I want to talk about. I awakened in 2005, but the Akir you're all learned to love, no doubt about it, was not there yet back then. When I awakened, it was Tsakizilim, which is a small Arctic dragon. I found out eventually, of course, not right that moment of awakening. And he had a really difficult past. One that I'm currently working on to write out in its entirety. But real short of it is that he got taken from his nest during a raid and then forcefully domesticated. So actually the story from Songstep made me think about like, okay, yeah, I know where they're coming from, why they feel that way. So expect that whole story or that book, I'd guess, to come out somewhere before I leave this planet. At least that's the plan. But it took me a few years of astral traveling and basically finding out that he was a concurrent life of me. So somehow my body was able to withstand, or at least was able to have two lives at the same time. And it was a difficult time. Awakening is always difficult, but somehow this getting added into it was really rough on me because I had to focus on school here, but then also every night I didn't so much sleep, but more astral traveled each night, and that doesn't replace sleep, let me tell you that. So fast forward a few years, and then suddenly in the corner of my mind there was this black dragoness popping up every time, and eventually I figured out that is Akir. And through some really odd or powerful dreams and or meditations, I'm not sure where that line is, I found out that she is actually the soul that inhabits this body and not Tsakizilim, not the Arctic ice dragon. So eventually Akir became stronger and more entwined with my mind, and that of course has given me a ton of stuff to work through because she, or rather my soul, is that of a female, a dragoness, and it even got me really close to transitioning on this over this discovery on this world, but it also made me realize that it won't help me get what I really want. It will not fix the need for my draconic body, because despite that it was from a past life, Akir is my direct past life. It is the one that I feel the strongest connection with. So if I could choose, I would definitely choose that body. um, let's see. It Yeah. So the one aspect that is that I never really asked for this life, asked for being awakened, and I I don't come across a lot of dragons or other kin even that share that. Some reason many of you have already felt draconic before in earlier life before really awakening. The thing was, I had a pretty good human life before awakening. I had everything set up, school and everything was figured out, and then this wrench got thrown into the gears, and I had to reconfigure my entire life around it. That being said, um, after almost 2 decades, I am happy that I did awaken. Yes, it has a lot of bad sides, the yearning, the pain of wanting a different body. But I found others like me. I found you all. And I connected with them. I forged friendships and relationships with you all. I gained new insights and new ways to look at this world, to see for it what it is. And for that, I am grateful. So that's a bit about how I came to be, how this dragon came to be in this world.
That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing, Akir.
No problem.
Yee. Wow.
I suppose it's my turn now.
Yee.
So I go by Mimu in the general community, but my draconic self's name is Arahur, or I'll just or Aurora, which is easier to pronounce. It's they're an accepted name. I actually found that the previous speaker's accounting very interesting, because there's a lot of parallels between theirs and my story. I know we're gonna have like a discussion panel to cover the awakening in particular, so I'll be a little bit late on the details there. But just to summarize, I also started with a fairly normal human life, although I did feel like there was more to me than, or I had an inkling that there was more there. I did have a similar throwing a wrench into the works awakening when I was a teenager. It kind of all came on me in the matter of moments, which is an experience that I'd be happy to dive into when we do the awakening discussion. Fast forward a few years, I decided to accept that draconic side of myself right before I entered a fairly short but satisfying-ish career in the military, which helped me power through that in spite of all the adversity I had to face there. As for my experience, I would say that Aurora and I are, to, for lack of a better word, like two peas in a pod, a yin and a yang. Friends companions, and two halves of a one whole. For me, being a human and being a dragon, and I probably should have mentioned this, but my dragon type is, from what I can tell so far, is a wyvern. It took me a couple of decades to figure that out. And for the rest of you, if there's any uncertainty about what form you might take, just know it might take, a number of years of looking into it and having epiphanies to fully figure out and flesh out your yourself. So for me, what this means is I kind of have, at first it was kind of like having an on and off switch between human and dragon, and nowadays it's more like a slider, and it comes with a lot of perks, but it also requires me to mind my P's and Q's around other human beings, because not everybody is as accepting as all you wonderful people in here. What was I saying? So I probably should double check the chat. So it does lead to some benefits. I've been dabbling in shifting a lot over the past decade or so, and learning how to cultivate that, which provides a lot of relief in some of the dysphoria that I might end up feeling from time to time. Something unique about my experience is probably the idea that Aurora and I are trying to integrate. We're not sure if it's going to just result into a more tightly knit plural system, or if it's going to result in one being by the end of my life. But we're definitely trying to obtain a unity here. I'm sure some people can also make a claim to that as well, but I do feel like that's a very unique aspect for myself. No, don't rename it to Dysphoria Week. To the quail song. Okay, I'm getting the chat is just sending me. Okay.
I feel that.
Yeah. So I think that's all on the top of my head. So I will open up the floor again for people.
Okay. That's understandable. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yee. We have about an hour and 20 minutes until our next panel, so there's plenty of time to talk about draconic experiences. Hello.
Oh, test. Hello. Hi, I'm Dreki, and English is not my native language, so I apologize for the mistakes that are going to happen.
All good, no worries.
And yeah, like I said, I'm Dreki, and I'm a wind dragon from the Dragon Realms. That's basically the universe of the Legend of Spyro games. Even though I don't consider myself fictionkin, because I'm not like a character that is seen in these games. It's just that this is like my home world. And I joined the community in January 2021. After I just Googled humans that feel like a dragon, and I stumbled across a German wiki site that talked about dragonkin and instantly felt connected. That was like a crazy experience. And I joined the community as another wind dragon named Swind, ironic. And she wasn't from the Dragon Realms, but kind of like a character, an OC I made up to fit into the community, because at that time fictionkin weren't that accepted as nowadays, and I just wanted to be around dragons, so like an OC-kin I made up, I took on her identity, and yeah. And later, I learned that lying to myself and lying to others isn't going to help anyone. So I started to get some introspection in myself and yeah, embraced who I am. And
Understandable.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about my origin. I think it's spiritual, but not in a past life sense. Because I don't have any past life memories, and I don't think I've ever had a past life. But I think I'm one of the ones with a misplaced soul. Like, my soul didn't belong here, and my soul didn't belong in this body, but in a dragon body I'm presenting online. And but this human body limitation isn't preventing me to be who I am. I'm still a dragon. My mentality is that of a dragon, and yeah, I'm a dragon in this life, just with a different body.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Just wanted to share that because many in the community think that if you say you're spiritual, you have to have a past life. You have to have past life memories. And I just wanted to show that there are other ways to be metaphysical in the community.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. That was all I was going to say. Thank you for this opportunity.
Understandable. Thank you for sharing your experiences.
Thank you. I'll
Yeah.
leave the stage now.
Okay, understandable.
See you in chat.
Okay. I do partially feel the thing about feeling like you're a dragon in this life. I know how I look physically. I know that I'm living in, well, not, how do I describe it? I know that I'm living a human life and walking in human skin. Though I still feel that I'm draconic. I still feel like I'm non-human in one way or another in this life, despite my physical appearance. Now, to be fair, I do have clinical lycanthropy. It's very possible that that is influencing my being, though I feel like even if I didn't have clinical lycanthropy, I would still feel the same way. I would still feel like I'm draconic a little bit more than physically in this life. As strange as that is to say, at least for my being, I suppose. Stage is still open, by the way. Oh, good. I'm glad I'm making sense. And honestly, it feels weird to describe myself as a human. I know that I'm living a human life, I know that I'm existing as human in this human life, though. Describing myself as fully human feels wrong. And actually, that ties in a little bit to my gender identity. My non-humanity actually influences my gender identity entirely, though it feels wrong to say I'm a woman or I'm a cis woman. I'm much more comfortable saying I'm gender non-conforming, I'm non-binary, I'm female presenting yet genderless. I feel much more comfortable saying that, and I know that to be true. I feel like it's the same with being Draconic and identifying as human. Like, I don't feel comfortable saying that I'm fully human. I feel much more comfortable saying that I'm Draconic, that I'm a Lyco-Draconic werewolf, that I'm a Lyco-Draconic werewolf living this human life. I'm sure others can relate. I don't recall if we've ever had a panel about Draconity and gender identity at the summit yet, though that would be an interesting panel and I wouldn't mind contributing to that. Wah.
What? Hello.
Wah.
Here
Hello.
here I am again.
Wah.
To No, we have to be serious, Lunat.
Flappy Durg.
To add to that, feeling human, Jesus Christ, feeling human. The thing is that I remember how I was as a person, as a body, as a mind before awakening, because it was hi chat. It was because it's such a significant chunk of my life still. I awakened in 2005. I was 15 back then, and prime time, teenage years, ready to start on college and all that stuff. And yes, it feels weird to say right now that yes, I feel I am human, though I still realize that maybe I slightly am, because this body still has to function in a way, but I just know that the soul part of this mind, of the space that it lives or that exists within this brain, is draconic, but there's still a bit of human there. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to talk right now or use this laptop or whatever, work and live this life. But saying I am a dragon feels valid, feels confirming to myself, because I know I am, or I was. No, I am. I still am. But I know there's still a bit of human in there. Is that a question for me, Mas? Any neurological changes?
I can actually answer that too, though I'll wait for your answer, Akir.
Yeah, I mean, yes, there were changes. I wasn't concerning myself at all with how the world was, or how certain things were in this life, or how I viewed my spiritual side, or anything like that. That definitely kickstarted once I awakened. There's definitely a increase in being more aware of what I do on this planet and how I am on this planet, before and after awakening. Yeah.
Understandable.
It was definitely a lightning strike. I wasn't spiritual at all. I was a really down to earth Dutch stereotypical human being. And after awakening, I was literally forced to accept any kind of spirituality, because how else are you going to explain that a dragon entered your brain and is becoming part of who you are? Yeah, get dragoned. Yoink.
Yoink.
So it's weird, because I remember how it happened, but it still feels like it happened to a different person. The one sitting here right now has grown, of course. I've aged as well, but I mean more in a way that this is more Akir talking than the human being before I awakened. And it's not so much a
Yeah.
split soul thing or a walk-in thing. It's more that maybe it was always there. I just didn't realize it.
Yeah, that's understandable. For my being, it is a very complicated story filled with trauma, and I'm not going to go into the trauma part, though I do remember this human body being human, fully human, no alter human identity involved. The human soul did express non-human traits, though I chalk it up more to the human soul having like undiagnosed ADHD, adopting animal traits, that kind of thing. It's an interesting experience to reflect on. The more that I think about it, the more confusing it gets, to my being, honestly. Scroll up in the chat a little bit for a sec. Though I do remember this human body's life before the alter humanity, before the awakening. The human soul was normal, undiagnosed ADHD child until age 12, when the schizoaffective started kicking in. I'm not going to go into that, though it was a long period of pain, suffering, false beliefs, whatnot. Eventually got over that, though, and in early 2020, Lunath, the non-human consciousness influenced by Lunath, awakened in this human mind. I chalk that up to being a spiritual experience. And everything about my being changed. It was a complete psychological shift. My personality changed, my views changed, my worldview changed, even my mannerisms changed. And since that awakening, I've been who I am now. Obviously, it hasn't been a very smooth experience since that awakening in 2020. I do still have schizophrenia. I still do have false beliefs. I still do have to work through delusions, though I do my best to work past that. And I have been able to discern things that are absolutely true in my non-humanity, so I at least find solace in that. Though yes, I do remember when this human body was human, and also, before the human body's life before 2020, I do not consider mind memories as the individual I am now, since I was not awakened as non-human, and I did not embrace my non-humanity in that sense. So I don't consider those my memories, whether that's some kind of PTSD response or whether it's an actual phenomenon that I experience. I don't know, though regardless, I don't plan to change that view anytime soon. Though I've never really met anyone with the same kind of awakening that I have, not only in the context of schizoaffective, though just awakening and having that complete psychological shift because something non-human in your mind, your consciousness, or your body awakened at some random point in your life. The more I think about it, I probably should write an entire journal about it, probably excluding all the trauma and the misery of those years. I don't think I could turn it into a book, more like a pretty long journal entry with a lot of lean bean Bible. It's gonna be everyone's new religion. Though yes, when I awakened, it was a complete psychological shift. And I chalk that up to being spiritual because I don't know any psychological phenomenon that could change someone that drastically, that quickly, with that intensity. An interesting note, though, I used to believe that I was only Lunath. It was only around 2023, I believe, that I actually accepted that I was just a fragment of Lunath, and that I was actually not Lunath herself, though a wolf created by her to live a human life. I'll admit it was kind of a depressing realization at first, though. I was like, oh, I'm not this being that I masqueraded as for so long, though I eventually came to realize that, you know what, I'm connected with her. I can still adopt her traits. It's not weird. It's not bad. It's not against my beliefs. I'm just not exactly who I thought I was. And I imagine that everyone in their non-human, ultra-human journey has these kind of realizations, these major realizations that, you know, challenge who you thought you were before. And honestly, that's perfectly understandable. I think it's a natural part of experience, the ultra-human experience, and it can be difficult sometimes, though it's not anything shameful. It's just, we're just growing, learning, encountering new experiences as we go. It's never a bad thing, even though it can hurt sometimes, like in my case. Stage is still open, by the way. I'm just rambling here. I probably will continue to discover more things about my non-humanity, even as this life continues on. I'm probably going to experience more drastic discoveries, though my identity will still remain the same. My guardians will always be here for my being, though I imagine there's going to be some interesting realizations over the course of my life, whether they pop up at random or whether they happen after some life-altering, interesting event. Yeah, I appreciate it. I have trouble articulating my words due to... Sorry, I got a phone call. And I'm ignoring it because it's not important right now. What was I saying? Ah, I forgot. Stupid phone call. Oh, I'm glad others find my experiences interesting. I do have trouble articulating my words sometimes, so it's good to know that I do come across as coherent, and it's good that my experiences are interesting for others to hear. And of course, there's another scam call. This Draconic werewolf is not answering that. Another interesting thing about my Draconity, I obviously say that I'm a Draconic werewolf, though I often don't. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, never mind. I need to think about this thought that I just had later. Oh yeah, that is true. We are an hour in. Well, our next panel doesn't start for another hour, so if anyone does want to come up on stage and say something last minute before we end the panel and move off to voice chat, then feel free to. I'll still approve stage requests. Get food. Yeah, of course. Since the stage is quiet, I will go ahead and end the panel here. So thank you all for listening in. I really appreciate you all sharing your experiences and engaging in chat or just listening in. It's much appreciated, and I always enjoy doing these kind of panels. Hopefully, the discussions here were able to spark some interesting thoughts, encourage self-discovery, encourage reflection on one's own draconic experiences, and we will see you all either in Draconic voice chat or at the next panel in an hour. Thank you all for listening in.